Hello everyone, welcome to the channel Screaming at the Wind. The character before you goes by the name of Jason Long. I like to sit quietly for a little bit, so we'll probably sit quietly for about a minute and just be here, listen to the sounds, see everything around us, feel the body. Allow the mind to dissolve. Allow the sense of self to dissolve. Expand all the way out. Become as though you are nothing. And sit in your nothingness. Go deep into your nothingness. Dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. Let these seeming inner and outer worlds blend into one. Oh wow, there was the hummingbird. It's about 2 feet in that direction, just hanging there. I'm sitting in the backyard of the home where I rent a space to live currently. It's a very beautiful day in California, the land of make-believe. So I would like to talk about the journey of going away from the self and returning to the self. And that's not necessarily true, because in the way I'm saying self, the meaning is that true self is no self. So we have to return to this place of no thingness, formlessness. And the sense of individuality within each of us, or the ego, as we like to call it in modern day words, is that sense. It's a sense of a me in here and everything out there, and it's an illusion. But while we're in it, it's suffering, and when we see through it, there's no longer suffering. So that's kind of the way you can look at it. It's not like something's wrong or something's bad and needs to be changed. It's just something's not being seen clearly, and things just have to, the focus has to be tweaked slightly, and once things are seen clearly, there's a new inner freedom. And the goal of anyone who speaks to seeming others about waking up or enlightenment or illumination or liberation is not to teach somebody something. It's to get an illusion to see that it's not real. And in that which sees clearly comes through. You know, Saint Francis, I think he was the saint of animals and drunks. Can't remember, maybe the saint of animals and drunks. But Saint Francis, when he was just a regular Joe on the street kicking it around before he became a saint, he was a party animal. He was a wild man. He loved to show off. He loved to have the fanciest of the fanciest. And then something happened. There was an interchange, and he got rid of all that stuff in that life and went about, teaching and helping others, being of service and whatnot. And but there's a prayer that he's known for, and it's called the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi. I believe there are a few Saint Francises. But in one version of that particular prayer that he supposedly authored, it says, in self-forgetting one finds, in dying one is born into eternal life. That can be taken as physical death, but it can also be taken as egoic death, or seeing clearly through the illusion of a separate self. Nothing awakens. Nothing is illuminated. Nothing is enlightened. These are just words to talk about a state of existence that you already are. And then the goal in talking here is to help you see that clearly. If you don't already see it clearly, and if you already see it clearly, then you probably don't need to be on here listening to this video. You'll probably be making videos or out on the street telling somebody about it, because it's pretty neat what's going on here once we see it clearly. And it's very tough to point at, because the mind wants to learn something. It wants something to hold on to. And awake is just a process of dropping everything. It's not believing anything. It's getting rid of belief and thinking altogether. And just like, if you could explain it in a simple way, just being perfectly here in the moment now, without any imagining in the head. The body there'll still be like emotions and senses going on in the body. The mind, though, isn't. You're not caught up in, the awareness is not caught up in the thoughts and images in the mind, the chattering and all that goes on in the head. And if you're in that, that's kind of the matrix or the labyrinth. Getting through that labyrinth is the goal of awareness everywhere, of consciousness everywhere. Is it necessary? Personally, as the character, my own personal opinion, no. Is it fun? Sure. Life is way better when we see clearly. Nothing threatens us anymore when we see clearly. Do our circumstances get easier? Not necessarily. Life is suffering. There's an acceptance there, though, that frees one from the excessive suffering, the unnecessary suffering created by the daydreams or the waking nightmares that we call thinking. that tell us there are threats around us that aren't really there. You know? I like to tell people the eyes and the ears never lie. The mind always does. The mind can't grasp reality. This mind can't. No mind can grasp reality. Reality can be seen, heard, tasted, touched, smelled. Even you could say, in a sense, with the heart, intuitively felt, right? The mind is seeing reality through the mind is seeing it through an interpretation, seeing it subjectively as opposed to objectively. And reality can be perceived objectively. You just have to remove the subject or the illusion of a subject, and what's left is objective reality. How does that come about? I don't know. It happens. It happens from seemingly a character choosing to watch a video on YouTube or read a book by some spiritual author or teacher, or go to some kind of retreat and listen to someone who's awake talking, or just by living life awakeness can occur. At the moment of, right before we physically die, awakeness often occurs in those last few days, weeks, or months before death. That's when people wake up to the reality of their own beingness. And the illusion of birth and death, that's something we get to see clearly. There was nobody born and nobody dies. This form pops up, it's like a wave out of the ocean, and it goes back into the ocean. And then there's an imagined me created from the form, but that's not real. But the awareness, the consciousness, the energy, the spirit, the Tao, the soul, there's a lot of words. A lot of words we could call it. The universe. None are quite right. None are the actual direct experiencing of life without the mental filter going on, without the mental chatter and imagery being overlaid over reality. And when that mind's a-going, the emotions are erratic and everywhere, and it's even though there's no doer to do this, you could say it seems like you have to take the mind and whip it into control. You have to control it. But not really. You can't. There's no separate thing that can control this thought mechanism up here. But it can be seen clearly for what it is. Just clouds, just vapors passing that have really no meaning other than just to be there, to be experienced. But they don't have to be concrete, solid. I always liked the Greek statues, or maybe I'm off on the culture, but the statues of the woman crushing the head of the serpent under her foot. And what that reminds me of is the story of the Garden of Eden. And you've got the serpent in the garden that goes to Eve, the feminine, and convinces Eve that there is wrong in the world, that there's something out of place, that's not okay. And Eve, in my mind, the heart, the feminine, grabs onto that and then goes to the mind, the masculine, Adam, and convinces Adam that, yeah, there's something wrong out there. They ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we're talking about mental discrimination now. So the monkey's out of the box. It starts talking. And that monkey's got me convinced it's me for a long time. But then, if you do this correctly, you can take Eve, the feminine, right? And look at the heart and let the heart see what's going on really. and let her see that serpent for what it is. And when she sees that serpent for what it is, the heart, the feminine, can crush that serpent underfoot and keep it locked up where it belongs. Right? And then there's peace between Adam and Eve. Now there's no more chitter chatter back and forth. You know, the mind and the heart aren't at odds with each other. That could be considered suffering. The yin and the yang are out of balance. And so once that's seen, the heart crushes the serpent underfoot, which is the instinct, the self-preservation mechanism in the body, right? Which comes from the stomach, usually, the pit of the stomach. That's where fear starts. And if the heart sees that and stops it right there and just keeps it right there, if the feminine doesn't allow that serpent to move up past the stomach to the mind, Adam, then the truth that we're in the garden and everything is good, even being naked, right, is revealed. That everything is one. That we are at one with God. And these are just words. They don't matter. They're not the concrete reality. They're conceptual descriptors of a perceptive destination or a state of perception. The state of perception is the location, and the words that we use are the directions to that state of perception. And once you find that and see that you already are that, and that's what you really are, then freedom is there. You know, you can call it heaven, nirvana, bliss, the Tao. It's all the same thing, you know. But our job as speakers is simply to just represent a part of you, which is what this really is. There is no character in here or one over there. It's just another piece of you saying directly to you, instead of not so directly, but everything screams at you the glory of you, if you can see it or hear it, right? I'm just doing it directly as a seeming separate piece, and all we hope here is that we realize what we are everywhere, and in that, you know, it doesn't mean that the character gets its cake and gets to eat it too. It doesn't mean that, you know, grand riches, wealth, fame, and power and sex and stuff are going to come advancing on you. No, that's not what awake means. It just means that the truth of ourself is seen clearly, and when seen clearly, and the truth of this reality is perceived directly, not through the filter of the mind, then freedom is what you are. And life can be whatever it is, as it always has been. You know? Freedom is what you are. Wholeness is what you are. Perfection is what you are. Heaven, bliss, nirvana is what you are. And anything that says otherwise is a load of bull. It's just not true. But everything's true and everything's not true. It's a paradox. It's a fine line in seeing that oneness is true and is the great reality, the underlying reality of our existence. And the seeming separations in individuals, well, they're true at a level. And that's the level that we all seem to operate from, a level of individual selves, right? But the one is acting as all those things. The thoughts here, the feelings here, the body here, the thoughts there, the feelings there, the body there, the seeming air and space and matter and everything. It's all the same thing, acting as all those other things. It's a beautiful ocean dancing, you know. And once you realize you're the ocean dancing, not the wave or the waves that the ocean's making, you see it as the ocean instead of the waves. You just see clearly, right? And that's illumination, enlightenment, liberation. But nothing is liberated, nothing is enlightened. It's just the self is seen, the false self is seen through clearly, right? And liberation is the end of the seeker. It starts right where the seeker ends. Awakening starts right where the seeker ends. Enlightenment starts right where the seeker ends, which is right here, right now, which is when it always is. Can you just be here now fully by not being here at all fully? Can you see that the actor, the thoughts, the feelings, the body, it's not you? I'm sorry. The character, the thoughts, the feelings, the body is not you. You are the actor behind the mask of the thoughts, the feelings, and the body. All mask, actually. All thoughts, feelings, bodies. You're the actor behind them all. That's a lot to take on. You know, out there in the world where it seems like there's so much bad, we see a lot of pieces of ourself pointing fingers at other pieces of ourself and blaming them for what's going on. But I will tell you now who the real problem is in the world. I am. I'm the problem. I'm the problem in the world. Well, how do I fix that? Remove me from it. See clearly. Also, you know, we could go Gandhi here. Be the change you wish to see, which is just a practice in moving toward non-duality also. The more you practice being the change you wish to see, instead of pointing at others and trying to change them, the more you'll see that everything is what you wish to see. It's a beautiful thing. So I am the problem, and I am also the solution. Who is this me? Who are you over there? behind those eyes. Where is this? Where are you right now? And what's going on right now over there where you seemingly are? Have you ever fully satisfactorily answered those questions? Who am I? Where is this? And what's really going on here? Those are important questions to know. And if you've believed you're the name you're given, or you're the parents you have, or the family you have, or the money you have in your bank account, or the car you drive, or the clothes you wear, or what types of food you eat, or how much exercise you get, or your moral and ethical code, or your political beliefs, or your religious or scientific beliefs, or any ideologies that or your country, your group of people, your culture. If you think any of that, I would have to say we haven't quite landed on what you are yet. Because you're all of that and more. You can't be contained. You're infinite. Unfathomable. I can't even say that word right. Doesn't roll off the southern tongue of this character very well. I put an N instead of an M where it's supposed to be. It's kind of funny. Anyway, I over here appreciate I over there, because it's the same I. And as I over here knows, I over there, you are already perfect and whole. You need nothing. In fact, there is nothing outside of you in this world that can add to you or take away from you. Even if your thoughts or feelings tell you that. Can't happen. You can't be added to or taken away from. You're perfect and whole. How can you take away or add to perfection and wholeness? It just has to be seen clearly, that's all. If somebody outside you tells you you're not, well, I'd have to disagree with them. Perfect and whole, right here, right now, in this moment, as you always have been. Sit in that. Find that place. Find that location. It's what you are. And if anything in your head or outside your head says otherwise, see if they're telling you the truth. Whether it be marketing or advertising that makes you feel like you're not enough, so that you have to go buy their product, right? Or whether it be, societal standards or stigmas that you've been told you have to go by. They just don't feel right. I'm not saying go and start a damn rebellion. I'm saying just see that where you are, you're perfect and whole, and there's nothing out there, nothing I can do in here that's going to add to or take away from what you are, what we are, what this is. Just got to open our eyes and our ears. It's amazing how many of us have ears, eyes, and we don't seem to use them that much. I'm just as wrong of doing that here, and it's not wrong. It's just what happened. It's just what happened. Like wrong, what happens is what happens. What I think or feel about it doesn't matter. Doesn't. It makes it more colorful. It gives context. It makes life a little more adventurous. But I can't get lost in the imaginings and believe they're real. That's suffering. I can't get lost in imaginary attachments and believe they're real. But I do. I take naps. I go to sleep. But there's no me. There just seems to be a me, and then there seems to not be a me. And one's right, and the other seems right. And when I know which one's right, I sit in that one. As I do over there, as you do over here. Anyway, it's enough. We've done good. 30 minutes is good. 30 seeming minutes. I hope you there is here now, sitting in the fullness and wholeness and perfection of what you are, knowing that all is well with you and all is well with everything always. And it is our duty to just find that within ourselves and sit there, as we always have, as we always are, as we always will be, watching the show, enjoying the ride, not grabbing on to anything, just surfing on through. Came in one door, going out the other. That's all. Nothing big, no big deals. Thank you. I appreciate you. Bless you. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to. If you don't, that's okay too. Have a beautiful day. Bye now.